Hey, it's me, Big P, and I'm here with the second build I chose to roll in the Path of Exile Legion League. I wanted to give Cyclone a try, but didn't want to just, do standard meta physical scaling Cyclone. So I thought I'd give it a try with something that I had a bit of experience with already, which is cast on crit. And the build itself is a little complicated in terms of how exactly it works, but when it all comes together, it's pretty straightforward and definitely very satisfying. While I was loving the build, there was a patch that was introduced that allows you to freeze Legion mobs now, which basically, it took my build from being like, dealing with Legion mobs excellently to just kind of trivializing some of them. Of course, I'm saying that now I'm probably going to get one shot by a mob in the map that I'm going to run. I valved it before. I think it doesn't have too much scary stuff on it. Maybe a bit of attack cast speed. Maybe a bit of, I think it had elemental equilibrium, but let's give it a shot. So overall, the idea behind the build, if you don't know what cast on crit is, you will cast a spell on the crit. Cyclone is great for this because it hits a lot. And you basically use Cyclone, but your main damage... Cyclone does decent enough tooltip damage. 33k. I'm opting to use two Cospreys. There's a lot of different ways you can do cast on crit. Oh man, Alva. I'm going to come back into the Alva. I don't want this video to be too long. I hope I remember. But a lot of people choose to either go for a spell-based shield or a Lycoside. Lycoside is like 1 chaos now. So that would be kind of the budget version, although I chose to go for precision instead, and 2 of these just for the increased attack speed. And being able to proc 2 separate Cospreys is kind of cool too. So basically, the build has excellent coverage. I'll show you the skill tree after this. Here's the best part of the build. I am using Vol Ice Nova, so blah. Little chunky bit of slowdown, but the way it deals with the Legion. I specifically wanted to do this build because I knew it would deal with the Legion mob so well. And here comes the one shot I was talking about. So it is a little scary because you are moving at a you're moving slightly slower than some builds might be moving against Legion stuff. And visibility is a huge issue with this build, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast. What are those? But okay, nothing too crazy. The thing about this build is that it doesn't really give me... I wanted to test out Cyclone, but this isn't really doing much for testing. I am probably going to do a full Impale version of Cyclone as champion. I might try it unarmed with face breakers, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are already doing that, and maybe just actually trying to spend all of my money on the league that I've made to build a full two-handed Cyclone might end up being better, but maybe I won't end up doing Cyclone at all. I've been looking at respecing my Berserker into something like Elemental Hit, or maybe Ice Shot with Void Fletcher, some fun stuff. I'm playing the league. I took a little vacation on the second weekend, and so I've only been able to do this build in addition to the build I'd done before, which isn't too fancy. That build I'm going to probably end up respecing. Lacerate just feels kind of weird. Okay, we're going to put the portal down just in case, and let's see some single target. So I am using Steel Skin here. Okay, go run and hide, you coward. Where are you at? Just try not to face any of these Frostbolts. So yeah, visibility, if you're not familiar with the Hydra fight, might be a little difficult. Ooh, okay, there we go. Okay, no more, please. See, that was a big chunk, and we don't have any cast when damage taking stuff. I'm actually manually casting a level 19 Steel Skin. But that's an overview of the damage, which damage isn't really where the problem with this build is. The problems are a couple things. Let's go over exactly what's going on here. So we needed a lot of decks. Let's go over the items. Starkun just had, this is a very popular item for crit-based builds, just because of the global critical strike chance and a lot of flat decks. Our skill tree is up here in the top of the tree. We don't go too much further down this area. we're grabbing a bunch of dex nodes. I'm even still using this. The build pretty much prioritizes elemental damage, life, and critical strike chance, both for spells and melee. So currently my cyclone is at 34.8 on the offhand, and yeah, it's about 35, but that's with no power charges up, no diamond flask. There's a lot of things, as you can see. I mean, in terms of ascendancy, you probably, I don't know if there's a poison version of this build. Maybe there is. You know, try it out if you like. But these are the ones I would probably do: unstable infusion, deadly infusion, opportunistic. And I just did my Uber Lab now, earlier today. More or less, all it's doing is giving you more critical strike chance and more critical strike multiplier, which is very nice. Power charge on crit and non-crit is helpful too. It helps you sustain those charges. I am using Frostbolt, so you want to go for these. You don't need the 1% mana reserved. It's just a little bit nicer. It only ends up giving me literally 1 mana, as you can see there. I'm going to have a full path of building. This skill tree probably could use a bit of work, although there's not really much you can stretch into without a further investment of points. If I get out of the power charges, maybe I can go for, like, I don't know, maybe I'd want to make it down here, but we're at 5.3k life currently, which is not too bad, and the energy shield isn't even really negligible. We are not using Blood Rage. I thought it wouldn't be worth it because that's a pretty strong physical degen that you get against yourself, and you know, it's nicer to just have like a little bit of a buffer, not to mention the fact that we are leeching some of the spell damage. I'm not entirely sure if it's that helpful in terms of defenses, but you know, every little bit helps, I think, when your build is kind of squishy. So let's get into it. Cost Breeze. If you don't know how Cost Breeze work, you trigger a cold spell on hit on critical strike, melee critical strike. I'm using kind of an interesting setup. So this 2123 Freezing Pulse gem dropped while I was leveling from Legion. Legion's great, by the way. I don't know if everybody loves Legion in the same way I do, but it's amazing. So I decided to just hit it with GMP and Life Leech, just to kind of try it out. I'm not sure if this is actually good, but it's a strong gem that you just throw into. I mean, that's kind of how a lot of cast on crit builds work. You just kind of throw gems into it, and voila, there's your cast on crit build. You are casting this spell. I do like that it pierces all targets. I feel like it gives more of an immediate sort of freeze and chill effect to targets further away, whereas the Frostbolt that I have, I also do have a Frostbolt and an Ice Nova with Ice Bite, generating my Frenzy charges. That's only when we're mapping. You kind of lose them unless the boss fight has adds, and even then, it's not so consistent, but not a huge deal. I wanted this linked with Life Leech and stuff. It's just cool. It just looks cool. It just kind of shoots out, you know. A lot of this build is just looking cool. So whenever Star Conjas, we're using our 3 auras in here, which is Hatred for more cold, Herald of Ice for more cold and shatter, and Precision to grant us more crit strike chance and accuracy rating. Something that I think some people, if you check the chance to hit here, it's not amazing. It's definitely not 100%, but I'm doing 7.66 attacks per second without any of my boosts and attack speed. You know, an 89% chance to hit, anywhere, let's say like 85. If you're doing that many attacks per second and your hit isn't really the thing that's doing the damage, it's the critical strike that's casting a spell that's doing the damage, it doesn't really matter. Obviously, if you wanted to min-max it, you want to be more consistent. If you want to go a little bit more defensive, you can go Lacoste, or you can craft hits can't be evaded on some sort of sword that you can dual wield with the Cost Breeze. There's a lot of ways to kind of min-max this build that I haven't really gone into, because I'm just kind of lazy. An example of that is you can find what the breakpoints for cooldown reduction speed, because as you can see, these will flicker and they have an internal cooldown. I'm not entirely sure what that cooldown is, but min-maxing a cast on crit build would mean bypassing that cooldown so that you're triggering your spells faster, which is overall more DPS. Here's my manual cast Steel Skin that I'm doing. You can cast this while you're channeling Cyclone, which is really nice. I just kind of have it on my mouse button. It doesn't last that long. I was using Immortal Call before, but I don't really generate Frenzy charges with this build. That's something I kind of want to look into. Warlord's Mark on hit on the Elder Ring that I'm using. I'm using the Mark of the Shaper with an Elder Ring, so that you get that 69% increased spell damage if the other ring is Elder. I 6-linked a Carcass Jack. There's a lot of AoE, both in the Cyclone and the Ice Novas that were in here, and the 6-link here is Cyclone as our main cast on crit skill. Hypothermia, increased critical strikes and critical damage, and here's the Ice Nova. Hypothermia I like a lot. Critical damage, I don't know if actually is the best, but I don't know, a big chunky critical strike multiplier feels good. If you were another Ascendancy, I've seen a couple Trickster variations on this. Not really sure if there'd be anything else that would kind of be up to scuff. You really need to crit consistently for this build to work. These three, the boots, gloves, and belt, I kind of just use to get like chunky life rolls. I do have a nice leech enchant on the boots. I think I bought these for like 50-60 chaos or something. They're not amazing, but I do like them a lot. And these are okay as well, you know, nothing too fancy here. The biggest, fanciest thing, I've never been able to spring for Pandemonious on any of my other cast on crit builds, and I absolutely love it. I think it's huge. It's just basically it does so much for offense, so much for defense. I cannot see me doing another build without this. I think if you're going to invest in a piece, you know, Cosprey's is a little, I think it's like 30-40 chaos. Carcass Jacks are getting pretty cheap. I 6-linked them on myself, so I saved on it. Sarcones you can get pretty cheap. This is really the big kind of investment you can make for your build, because chilling on every hit is crucial, especially when you blind these chilled enemies, not to mention that cold penetration is very helpful. I think I might need to put cold penetration into one of my builds. I mean, one of my links here, maybe instead of critical damage here. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'm going to upload the path of building for this build to see if anybody wants to tinker with it and give me some help. Cast on crit is not really something that's for the faint of heart. You really have to go all in and, you know, have a focused direction with your build. You can't really figure it out as you go. The skill tree, I mean, I just pretty much just went on PoE Ninja and looked at the heat map for all cast on crit builds that were doing two swords instead of a sword and shield. And I just went with whatever, you know, kind of made sense here. You know, we're still picking up a lot of decks here. This jewel is actually pretty nice. I ID'd this when I was leveling as well, and just kind of everything that I need. Although not, you know, none of these are really necessary, besides like capping on resistance. It is hard to cap on resistance. I'm actually not capped for early weakness because you have a lot of uniques in this build. And what else can you go into? I mean, again, it's a pretty straightforward build. Oh, I want to mention the Watcher's Eye that I picked up is pretty cool. Precision has some cool Watcher's Eye modifiers, and this gain of flash charge when you do a critical strike is kind of cool. However, I'm not sure if that's proccing properly on every single critical strike that I do, because I have 4 spells I think I'm casting in addition to the critical strike that I deal with my Cyclone. I have noticed it a bit here and there. It's like a kind of a mini Pathfinder. I'm not sure if there's a cooldown on this or what. Again, a lot of little details going around that end up just being you shattering and destroying stuff. Okay, so I'm going to keep this video short. I'd want to get back into that instance to do the Alva. But if you have any questions or, you know, have a suggestion for the next build I should try, if you've tried like a fun kind of off-meta build, I'm going to keep rocking this leg out. I'm really enjoying Legion, and now I have a build that can really deal with it. I'm looking forward to maybe trying a 5-way fight with this. I might upload some footage of that. That might be cool. Anything else? I mean, you know, thanks for watching. It's you know, Legion all day, cast on crit forever. I'll see you in the next video. Let me know if you have any questions. Path of building paste bin will be in the description, and I'll see you next time.